Tagore. We've got Shehzad still. Shehzad, you heard what Manikam Tagore had to tell me a short while back, based on that interview I did with Ghulam Nabi Azad. Your reactions to everything that he's been saying?
It's so shameful, Pallavi, that ta-umra Congress और Manikam Tagore यही गलती करते रहे, धूल चेहरे पर थी, वो आईना साफ करते रहे. If Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad was such a gaddar, then why were they making him the campaign committee chief till the time he quit? And the day he quits and he cites certain reasons which you, after covering Congress for so many years, also know are very valid criticisms, they say this about him. This is the problem. There is no internal democracy in the Congress party, Pallavi. There is no internal elections. There is no internal accountability. There is only parivar above performance. There is only sycophancy and darbari culture. And the crime that Mr. Azad committed was that he wanted to be Azad and not a Ghulam or a Darbari. Look at what Manish Tiwari is saying. Will Mr. Manikam Tagore use these pejoratives and metaphors and adjectives for Manish Tiwari also? For the entire G23? For the no more than 400 Congress leaders, small and big, who've left the party over the last 8 years? All of them are wrong, and only the first family of Congress and Manikam Tagore are right. It's very distasteful that a colleague who has served 40, 50 years in politics in the party, you start abusing him because he recites certain issues, and those 5-page letter, those issues are completely valid. But anyways, this is an internal matter of the Congress party. But 5 years ago, even I cited this. Leader after leader has cited this. So, it's unfortunate, Pallavi, that this kind of words are being used by the Congress. It shows that just one parivar matters to them. It's a family enterprise. And therefore, today, anybody who asks the family for accountability is abused and shown the door, is sidelined. Congress should focus not on Bharat Jodo. They should focus on Parivar Chodo.
In fact, it's interesting you say that, Shehzad, because in my interview, you also said that what it needs is Congress Jodo more than a Bharat Jodo Yatra. But Shehzad, I'm asking you this because you belong to the BJP, but also someone who's watched political developments. There's a time to stick by your party when it's weak. Do you think this is the wrong time? And I'm going to get in Mr. Nasir Hussain, also the Congress party, on this. So, Shehzad, quick reply to this. Doesn't it look wrong then if your party is weak, you abandon the party, especially if you've been with them for 50 years? Yes, Shehzad.
The Congress, we should not confuse two people to be equal to the party. The Congress's problem is that it thinks the Parivar is the party. The party used to function like a Parivar during Mahatma Gandhi's days. Today, under Rahul Gandhi, the Parivar, 3 people have become the party. Let me tell you, the BJP, why don't people leave the BJP and break the BJP like the Congress gets broken every few years? The reason is because it has a neta, niti, niyat and ideology, and therefore people stick by it and they work for the party. They don't work for one individual. The problem with the Congress is for the last 4 decades, they have only had one family that controls the entire party, and the party has now transmuted into the Parivar. Parivar has transmuted into the party. And therefore, serving one Parivar is more important than serving the party. Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad was not a gaddar of the party. He may be a gaddar for the Parivarwadi, but he was not a gaddar of the party. He was talking about reform for the party. Shashi Tharoor
But why not behind closed doors? Why do you have to do it openly? That's what the Congress is asking. कि अगर ये बोलना ही है, तो आप CWC meeting में बोलो, 1-to-1 चिट्ठी लिखो. Why do you have to do this publicly?
But Pallavi, you cover Congress better than most people. You know how many meetings this has been raised in, and you know the pratikriya of those who are the coterie of Rahul Gandhi. You know very well how these senior leaders have been insulted. You know how many times this has been raised internally, and they have leaked it out, and they have created a hue and cry, and they have abused and insulted and sidelined these senior leaders for raising their voice. The G23 and others, they have not ever made it in a public domain. I think a lot of the coterie culture, those who are the new
Shehzad, I have to go across to Mr. Nasir Hussain. It's only fair we let him speak. Mr. Nasir Hussain, the same question is that, why shoot the messenger? I mean, he made some points which even we, when you cover the Congress party, see that it's a delayed decision-making. Your election, for example, was supposed to be completed by 21st September. It's now being stretched to 17th of October. So don't you think Ghulam Nabi Azad and many like him had a valid point that there is a delay in decision-making and the critical ones?
See, I'll tell you something, Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad. It is very evident from his own letter, and 1.5 page of letter is devoted to himself, that he was in this position, that position, so many positions. I'm sure that at a very young age when he was brought in, when Mrs. Gandhi was at the helm of the affairs and when he was given all the opportunities, I'm sure those days senior leaders were feeling the same thing what Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad is feeling now. So when he was given so many opportunities, I think the other leaders were feeling the same thing what he is feeling now. So when there are winds of change in any political party, when there are new people coming in, when there is young blood coming in, when there are people, young and educated or articulate people are coming in, obviously the older people have to pave way for these people. The older people have to see that there is a smooth transition in the party. If somebody is there for 50 years, somebody cannot be there for hours. There'll be health problems. There'll be problems with so many other things. You say that in Udaipur Sankalp Shivar, you say that people should be eased out slowly so that others are made way. At one point you say there are not youngsters coming, and the other point, you say that the older people should remain as and where they were. And he should also explain to the people of the country why when Rahul Gandhi ji had torn that ordinance, why didn't he resign if he had felt so bad? When all the things which is saying that this was happening, this was not happening, this was happening, he should have come out and spoken at that time. He should have resigned from his ministerial positions. He should have resigned from his general secretary.
There are certain points which have been made by Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad. I mean, fair point that why did he need to do it now and it's only emboldening the BJP. But what about some of the points which he's made? In state after state, your party is weak. You don't have an organization. You have newer regional parties coming up which are actually eating into a vote bank. Will that be addressed?
See, is it when the party was winning elections in state after state, then people who were at the helm of the affairs along with Mrs. Gandhi, so they were responsible for the party winning elections. Now when the party is losing the election, so Gandhis are responsible.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm not talking about Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad. I'm asking you a separate question, Mr. Hussain. You are starting a Bharat Jodo Yatra at a time, fair enough, it's good to connect with the crowd. But you know, you're starting this Yatra at a time when your party is weak, you're losing out in state elections, Aam Aadmi Party, TMC are coming up at your cost. Will the Bharat Jodo Yatra strengthen your party is what I'm asking.
Yeah, obviously. There is this criticism both within the party and outside the party, and the likes of Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad says that we have lost touch with the masses, we have lost touch with the ground realities, we have lost touch with the karyakartas. So obviously when you are lost touch with all these sections of people, you have to reconnect with them. You have to go to the
So we'll see. It's a
and that is what the Congress party is doing.
Okay. So thank you very much, Mr. Hussain. We are running out of time, but thank you very much for joining up. Thank you very much, Shehzad, also for joining up. That was Ghulam Nabi Azad speaking to me a short while back, but that's all we have time for. But news continues over here on CNN News 18.